They told me there'd be no math on this program, so I'm not going to math it for you, but we are a week from Thursday from NFL games that count. The season is right around the corner, and tonight, get ready to get black and blue. Get ready to be black and blue this entire week because we're doing it North style. Tonight, the NFC North takes its stage on the Moss NFL previews. We're happy you're here with us. Thank you for taking some time to join us. A lot of stuff to talk about in the NFC North. Roster cutdowns, all kinds of movement. And guys, it's right around the corner. You can feel it. If I could take something from The Rock right now, I'd be like, oh, let's go. And this is a division that I think is going to give us a lot of questions, a lot of drama, and a lot of things. And we're going to get into all of that tonight. In the middle, my guy Vegas Mac, who now has headphones and a microphone. No thanks to Jeff Bezos, who couldn't get it done for us in front of Saturday's show. But Vegas Mac, what's going on, brother?
Hey, not too much. We got a little appetizer of football on Saturday, maybe just enough to wet your whistle, and we'll get a little bit bigger portion this week, and then one more week after that, like you said, will be a full-blown buffet.
Buffet, like a Phoebe buffet.
Like a Phoebe
I'm going
buffet.
to pop this comment up here because I know TJ is going to have something unique to say about it. I would say I don't care. Live your life. It doesn't matter. Yes, I was already shaking my head at you, person that commented this, but I want TJ to see it before I ask him after he drinks what the hell is going on. What the hell is going on, TJ?
What the hell am I reading? What is this?
You can blame Mama Mac in the middle for that one.
Hey, I heard the prenup's going to be longer than any book that Travis Kelce's ever read, according to Twitter.
Whoa! I just want to say that I was able to break that news to her. She did not know about it. I was the one who, yes, I of course I get my ESPN alert, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'll check it. Jesus. And what does the ESPN alert say this morning? Taylor and Travis are engaged via Instagram. I'm like, really? That's what we've come to, ESPN?
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to Adam Schefter for that.
So with all that considered, TJ, how in the hell are you?
Oh, I want to go back to bed. I got some bad blood here.
It's going to be that kind of night.
Oh, it is. I'm in a mood today.
This would have been a good time. You know what? In all seriousness, like Schefter is fine, but that news was worthy of a Woj bomb, I'm going to have to say. If we're going to talk about ESPN,
absolutely.
Barometer of breaking news on ESPN, that's a Woj bomb worthy take. I'm happy for him. Why not? Go live your best life and go make records that I won't buy and go win games that I won't watch. And there you go.
I am in a mood because it is down in this part of the valley. It is monsoon season, or as we like to refer to them on social media now, haboob season. And everybody in Arizona down that is affected by these feels free, like you know how you get annoyed by back to school pictures and you get annoyed by Thanksgiving plate pictures? I don't. I like to see Thanksgiving plate pictures because I like to see people that are like-minded with me and that are just absolute gluttonous on Thanksgiving. So I love those. What I hate is this time of year because everybody feels free to think they have to post a video of, hey, look, dust storm in Arizona. And I'm going, hey, up yours, because now I have to work 10 times harder to clean my damn pool. I'm pretty sure our pool vacuum is going to file a complaint with the labor board in Arizona because I think she's on her third roll through the pool today, and I still haven't gotten all the dust out of there. Speaking of dust, there's a lot of dust that needs to settle in the NFC North this year, guys. And I am really, I think there more than any other division in the NFL, I think the NFC North brings the most that intrigues me this year because there are storylines on top of storylines, on top of drunk uncles throwing footballs at Dave and Buster's. There are storylines in this division. First thing off the top of your head, guy in the middle there, Vegas Mac, what comes to your mind when you think of the NFC North in 2025?
QB uncertainty, growing pains, and heightened scrutiny.
A little soliloquy there from Vegas.
Yeah.
Now. He's a poet and you didn't even know it, TJ. First thing that pops off the top of your terrible hat that you're wearing head today. What pops off of your head when you think about the NFC North?
It was the first hat I could grab. I'm really curious to see that last year the division had unparalleled success despite what the Bears gave us. And it's going to be very difficult for these teams to recreate that success. I think this division's a lot closer top to bottom than a lot of people think. And no thanks to my drunk uncle. And yeah, like Max said, the quarterbacks are going to play a huge role this year. And I don't know if who's going to start the season is going to finish.
Next time you talk to your drunk uncle, say hello from me.
I will. He's giving Caleb Williams a throwing lesson next week.
All right, let's go to newcomers in the NFC North and try and get this train on some form of a track here. And I'm going to start, let's change it up a little bit today. Mac, why don't we start with you? Give me one of your newcomers in the NFC North that you're most excited to see off of your list.
I'm going with, in the Green Bay Packers, Matthew Golden. Amazing receiver. I think this is something that the Packers need. I think they need that deep ball threat. I loved him in college. I think he gives the Green Bay Packers probably not a number one wide receiver right away, but just somebody that they can go to and kind of really open up that offense a little bit more. I think he's going to be tremendous in Green Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of people that are excited to see that as well. And as everybody that's followed us for a while knows, show favorite Romeo Doubs in Green Bay, as well as Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks. They've got a plethora of receivers here. The question is, will there be any love for Green Bay this year? We'll get to that in a second. T, give me one of your newcomers to the North that you got your eyeballs on this year.
Well, it's Tate Ratledge of the Lions. I mean, he's going to come in and he's got a very important role to play right off the bat. He's got to fill a spot on that offensive line. And you know what? If his mullet has anything to do with it, he is going to be just fine. He had a great career at Georgia. I'm looking for big things from him with the Lions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people looking at Tate Ratledge and what he can do for Motor City Dan Campbell's crew there. I'll give you one, and right now he's a little hidden on the depth chart, if you will. And depth charts are, about as useful as preseason rankings in college football. But, Luther Burden III in Chicago, I really like the fit there. I think with the group that they have in Odunze and Duvernay and Moore and Zacchaeus, who came over from Washington, I think Burden's going to get an opportunity to kind of work his way in there. And I think that's good for him. But people that didn't see Luther Burden play in college, the hell were you doing is my first question. Second of all, I think if you could pair a young, receiver that the ceiling is the roof to take something from Michael Jordan for, it would be Luther Burden III within a Ben Johnson style offense. So I'm really, really excited to see how the Bears start to utilize him. And I think he's in a good situation there because he will get an opportunity to kind of get his feet wet, and there's not going to be a lot expected of him very early. Mac, give me your second one that's a newcomer in the North that you got your eyes on, and a lot of people are going to think this isn't a newcomer, but it is.
Right, yeah, I mean, I put a question mark there. Can we say that he's new? And we're talking about J.J. McCarthy from Minnesota. I mean, he's new in the fact that he hasn't played yet. So, I mean, he was on the team last year. Obviously, he was hurt. So, yeah, we can put him in the newcomer category. I mean, they've basically said in Minnesota, the job is yours. This is your team. Go for it. And so we'll have to wait and see what happens. We know that Kevin O'Connell is, again, he does such a great job with quarterbacks. This is probably, I would have to say, his biggest test to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an obvious thing. And we're going to get to our rankings by position as we go through the division here. And again, when we rank these position groups throughout this division, we're doing it on not just the starters, but the depth everybody has. Specifically, we decided to do it that way because of the quarterback position and how important the backup quarterback position is in the NFL. I'll give you my second one here, and I think it's probably a no-brainer, but it's a guy that everybody is really looking forward to see within this division, and it's the head coach of the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson. And, a lot to be made of what's going to happen to the Lions without Johnson and Glenn there. I think there's a lot of eyeballs to see if Johnson can be the guy that unlocks Caleb Williams. And again, I think, and this is I'm going to hit some trigger points tonight. And one guy is looking at me right now, and I know he's going to know I'm going to hit the trigger points. But I think that we need to put it into proper context when we look at Caleb Williams' rookie year. The Bears' situation was a disaster last year. The coaching was suspect at best. And I think that there's a lot of people that think if there was one guy you could handpick to be a head coach and a mentor and a confidant and a leader, if you will, for Caleb Williams, it is Ben Johnson. And I'm really excited to see that pairing together and how it works. I think Chicago did a fantastic job building the fortress around Caleb Williams that we'll talk about here. I think there's a lot of expectations on him and this team. But as we talked about last Thursday, guys, with the AFC East, and what do we make of Aaron Glenn in New York with the Jets? The same question is Ben Johnson in Chicago with the Bears. And now these guys are going to get their chance to go, hey, I can be a great coordinator as well as being a great head coach. And I think that's part of the intrigue there. And I know his name's going to come up a lot more here in this very program. Let's get into the position groups, guys. And, when we talk about the quarterbacks, I think the most significant move out of this division was probably made very quietly about 48 hours ago, not even quite that. And it's Minnesota signing Carson Wentz. I think a lot of people forget that Carson Wentz was probably I don't want to say he was a shoo-in to be MVP, but he was right damn there before he blew up his knee, and he hasn't really been the same since. What does Carson Wentz know? Carson Wentz knows the inner workings of the NFL, how to be a good quarterback in the NFL, and as Mac mentioned, his, quote, newcomer that he has his eyes on is J.J. McCarthy. I think the signing of Carson Wentz along with Kevin O'Connell is a great pair for J.J. McCarthy going forward into this season. So when I look at the quarterbacks here, I'm going to give the edge to Detroit with Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is definitely, and it's kind of ironic. Jared Goff is kind of the benchmark for the quarterbacks within this division, but they all have similar pathways to the same position that Jared Goff did. So I would trust Jared Goff more than anybody in this division. That being said, and I'm not going to make any fans in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and that'll be one of the 17th times in my life I haven't made a lot of fans in Green Bay, Wisconsin. But again, I've said the same thing about Jordan Love for the last couple of years. We have very much kind of, and I'll start with you, TJ, because I'm going to use one of your lines here. I think we've given Jordan Love the same seat at the top side of the table that we have Justin Herbert. And I will ask the question, what has Jordan Love done to earn that position yet? I mean, again, we can go back to a couple of years ago. A dumbass interception towards the end of that divisional game against the 49ers. Otherwise, the Packers move on that year. So I would say there's Jared Goff and then the rest of the quarterbacks in this division with a slight lean towards Jordan Love. But I would say it's Jared Goff, Jordan Love, but Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy in the Minnesota quarterback situation are all on the same page, Steve.
100% agree. No, the only thing that I'll give you two things that Jordan Love has done that Justin Herbert has not done. One, he's won a playoff game, and two, he wears a Green Bay Packer helmet, not a LA Chargers helmet. So he's not on that. He's not the second or even the third most popular team in his area. The Green Bay Packers are a national brand, and so as a result, Jordan Love is automatically elevated because of the branding of the Green Bay Packers. But you're right. Other than one playoff win, which was really the defense just confusing Dak Prescott to all hell, like this team hasn't done a whole. I mean, they've had nice seasons. 11 wins last year, nice season. But yeah, as far as playoff, haven't done anything in the playoffs considerably. And so, yes, I would definitely put them in similar boats.
Mac, roll out on the quarterbacks in the North.
I think you need a bigger boat. Here's the deal. I mean, look at we'll take the teams in general. When we talk about teams, I mean, we really talk about the quarterbacks. None of these teams have won anything. They've won games. Detroit's won games. Minnesota's won games. Green Bay's won games. There's no championship coming to any of these teams. So, when I said quarterback uncertainty, I really kind of meant it for almost every team. There's quarterback uncertainty really for all of these teams because none of these guys have really won anything with these teams that they have. As far as the ranking goes, yeah, I mean, I definitely think Detroit slightly better than Green Bay. Goff a little bit better than Love. I think Love is a pretty good quarterback. We'll have to wait and see. Again, the more I watch him, the more I like him. It's one of those things. The more I see him, I really think he's a pretty good quarterback. As far as J.J. McCarthy, we just don't know. I mean, he was great in college. We'll have to wait and see, especially not even so much making the jump, the fact that he had the injury. So we'll have to wait and see about that. And then, TJ's boy in Chicago, I mean, we have to imagine that he's going to get better, right? I mean, it feels that way, but, we'll have to wait and see because, Coach wasn't real happy with their last preseason game.
TJ's boy in Chicago is going to be something that we reference multiple times this year. If you're watching along with us, feel free to comment along. We appreciate you. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat. And I will say it for TJ here, which I don't normally do, but everywhere but Snapchat because we're not on Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. When we look at the running backs in this division, fellas, this is kind of an interesting debate for us, and I'm kind of interested to see where we all kind of fall on this. But I would say that there's no doubt in my mind the best running back in this division resides at Lambeau Field in Josh Jacobs. The best running back grouping in this division for me is a no-doubter, and that's the pairing of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, as well as Craig Reynolds in the things that Craig Reynolds does for them in Detroit. I have some serious questions about Minnesota. Aaron Jones is still effective, but when I look at behind Aaron Jones, there's question mark. Can you stay on the field? And then, I love in Chicago, I love DeAndre Swift, but I have a lot of concerns behind DeAndre Swift as far as the depth goes. So the best running back for me is Jacobs. The best pairing is Gibbs and Montgomery, and I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel there, Mac.
No, I mean, you could make an argument that the Detroit running group is the best in the NFL. I mean, you could make that argument hands down. I'll start at the bottom this time and work my way up. I'll say Chicago. Here's the thing about Chicago. I don't like their running backs at all. I mean, I think honestly, if I had to rank them, probably the bottom third in the league. But here's the deal. With Bears, they can't change everything in 1 year. And they really went and kind of worked on that offensive line. They've got a little bit of help at wide receiver. This is going to be, a next year kind of thing, or maybe the year after where they work on the running back. So, I mean, this year it's not a good situation. I will agree with you, though, Mike, 100%. The best running back in the division is in Green Bay. Jacobs is great. He runs the ball. He catches the ball out of the backfield. I mean, he is a super weapon. You can use him in any spot at the goal line. Like I said, you could put him as a receiver. Just great all around running back.
T.
Same. I mean, as a Raider fan, I'm so bummed that they just let Jacobs walk for nothing, and Green Bay's reaping the rewards. This guy is an animal. I was very excited to see him get his first receiving touch last year. That was excellent. But the guy just eats yards. I mean, he's just a great running back. So yeah, good for Green Bay. But yeah, Gibbs and Montgomery, that's a dynamite tandem. And if you have those guys on your fantasy league, I think you're going to be pretty happy this year. I'm really concerned about a lot of the depth on Minnesota's roster this year. And this is no slight to Jordan Mason, but after Aaron Jones, I mean, like, and are you going to get 17 games of Aaron Jones? So, yeah, and Chicago's running backs don't scare me at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be a resounding theme, guys, as we go through these position groups all the way across this division is and it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with the AFC East when it came to the secondaries. There was a lot of like big time, like highlight top tier level defenders within each team's secondary, but nobody really had like a go-to like this across the board is the definitive one, and yeah, and I think Billy V's comment right there is definitely right, and I don't think any of us would disagree with that. I mean, Gibbs is definitely the most dynamic one in the division. When you look at the wide receivers, guys, and I'm going to defer to you guys first here when it comes to the wide receivers, but I will set the table for this conversation with you've got two of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL in this division in Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think the Bears situation, they're going to expect a lot out of Rome Odunze now. And obviously the Packers with Christian Watson on the PUP list to start the year. And, if you want to take that a step further, we'll go to, Minnesota with Jordan Addison on the suspended list to begin the year. So I think there's a lot of question marks at wide receiver all the way across the board. So I'll let you guys kind of run with it. Mac in the middle, you can go first on this one.
Again, without a doubt, the tandem that the Lions have is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's really, really good. Not only just the receivers that they have, with Laporta at tight end, the way that their running backs catch the ball. I mean, again, you have to take that all into consideration. One of the top. I actually like what the Bears have with Moore and with Aduze, Cole, Komet, and then Loveland that they got in the draft. They also got your guy that you talked about in the draft, Mike Luther Burden. I like what the Bears have done. Like I said, that's what they concentrated on. They're like, this year we're gonna make sure our line gets better. We're gonna make sure our receivers are better. So our boy, Caleb has a little bit to go with. Then we'll work on running backs next year. But I actually like the Bears. Running backs, receivers. I put them just a tad bit behind Minnesota, just because Jefferson is just so dynamic. But they're really, really close. I don't really like what Green Bay has so far, even though I said at the beginning I like Golden in there, but I don't like the rest of that. They still think they have a little bit of work. But I would not be surprised if the Bears have one of the top receiving corps coming the end of the year.
You have a really good group of guys that are like good at working well together, because you said you didn't really like outside of everybody else that they had, and my eyes went up and TJ's eyes went up, and we're both thinking of the same guy, and it's how dare you speak ill of Romeo Doubs. Go ahead, T.
I am very bullish on this Packers team. I love the addition of Golden. All these receivers are under 25, I believe. And this is going, or close to it. This is the year that this team takes another step with their receiving core, and they were really good the past couple of seasons. So I'm really bullish on them, but I do think that they're behind. I do think they're behind Detroit and Minnesota. I love Jefferson. I love Addison. I love the Hawkinson. Great possession receivers. It's unfortunate that Addison's going to be out for a little while. But Green Bay is, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season, of all the receiving cores, that Green Bay has the most touchdowns of all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people that agree with that same sentiment right there. I was thinking of sediment, like all the crap that's in the bottom of my effing pool right now. Let's go to the offensive lines here, fellas. And for me, this is an absolute, no doubt about it, no freaking brainer, no discussion necessary. the best offensive line in this division resides in Chicago with the Bears. And the Bears went out and they said, absolutely, this is what we are going to do. We are going to make sure that Caleb has every opportunity to be successful. And when you can add Tooney and Dahlman and Jonah Jackson to a group, there's not a team in the NFL that has done anything remotely close to that. You also add Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright into that group. I do like the depth that they have behind that. And I honestly think that this could be the best offensive line in all of the NFL. Now, what can the Bears do with that and how will it translate? We'll get to that a little bit later. But for me, when I looked at the offensive lines within this division, there is no freaking debate possible on paper before we play a game. The Bears have the best offensive line, Mac, in this entire division. Unmute your microphone. It's new. It's new for him.
Sorry. Yes. I was going to say, Ben Johnson, is taking all the, if you want to call them excuses, question marks away from Caleb Williams. He said, listen, we got you receivers. We got you an offensive line. Now you've got to go and prove to us that, you're supposed to be the number one pick. It's the bottom line is that's exactly what he's done. I also like the Minnesota line. I know they're going to have a couple of new guys, but the signing of Ryan Kelly at center is going to really help that offensive line. So I agree. I think Chicago is tops. I don't think Minnesota is all that far behind. Detroit and Minnesota aren't bad. I would put them probably right smack dab in the middle. I don't think there's much difference between Detroit and Green Bay from a line standpoint. Again, my biggest thing, and I know we'll probably get to it with Detroit, is just going to be, regardless of the offensive line, you've got a new offensive coordinator. And I think that's going to make a big deal as well. People don't understand, new terminology maybe. A lot of that can make a difference in your offensive line.
Hey.
Well, of course, Chicago got better. They couldn't get any worse last year. They led the league in sacks allowed. I think it was 67 or 69 or 6,000, or I don't know how many sacks they gave up last year. And
you literally just said all the key buzzwords right now for the younger folks. 67,
he said 69,
69 and 6,000.
Man.
Nailed it.
But I mean, like they were bad. They were horrible. Meanwhile, Detroit had the best. They gave up the fewest sacks of all those four. But a lot of that can also go to the veteran quarterback that Jared Goff is, and him unloading the ball as quickly as he can in most cases. But yes, credit to the Bears for going out there and making the big signings on the offensive line. You're right, Mac. Ben Johnson is taking away all of the excuses other than I don't have a check down running back receiver out of the backfield. You're right. He's getting rid of the excuses. I love that for the Bears. I think the Lions line is going to be good. I think Ratledge will probably just need to get his feet wet and his sea legs from underneath him. He's going to be just fine. A little concerned about the Packers and my guy, Jordan Love. I don't want him running for his life if he's going to, throw 71 touchdown passes this year to all my favorite receivers. So, that's that. But yeah, the Bears, like my feelings about Caleb Williams are what they are. The Bears are doing everything right here. So credit to them for doing this.
Well, and I think something that we need to keep in proper context last year, and obviously team success, and again, wins are not a quarterback stat, and there's zero argument there. That being said, the quarterback is the guy that gets all the credit. He gets all the hate at the same time. If we were to compare Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams last year, and you looked at their numbers, they're not very different from each other. The biggest difference is Washington damn near went to the Super Bowl, and Chicago did Chicago stuff. So I think there's proper context that needs to be there. And I love, not to let the cat out of the bag for Max 60 on Thursday, but I love the way Ben Johnson, the way he coached the Bears and the way he approached the Bears in the preseason. It was enough is enough of this shit. Resounded by everybody in Chicago, including Sergeant Voigt and everybody else you want to put into that mix there. But enough is enough of this. And I'm going to hammer these guys in the preseason. I'm going to get on these guys in the preseason. And all of those things I think should translate. But again, we have to wait until the games are actually played for real. Let's go over to the other side of the ball. And T, I'm going to start with you here because we're going to go to the defensive lines and the linebackers, the secondaries, and the coaching staffs as we go through this. But you said something this morning in your preview for tonight's show that said your words, and I'm going to try and get this 100% right. I mean, you would think I would get it because I'm the one that has to see it 5 or 6 different times. That now we get to find out if it's J.J. McCarthy or if it's the system that makes the Vikings good. Well, now we're on the other side of the ball, and I will tell you it is the system that makes the Vikings good, but it has nothing to do with J.J. McCarthy. It has everything to do with their defensive system in Minnesota. And I think the addition of Carson Wentz and bringing Carson Wentz in as the veteran who can really teach J.J. a lot of stuff is done based on this defensive group for Minnesota. And the interesting thing about it is you could go down every starting position for Minnesota, and there are good to great players. Minnesota has arguably one of my favorite non-49er players in the entire NFL in their secondary. We'll get to him in a second. But these guys all know how to play really, really well within their system, within the flow, if you will, of their system. When I look at defensive lines in this group, I really love the group that Chicago has. The group that Green Bay has, I have a lot of questions with on the defensive line. I love Rashawn Gary, but I don't know. And I love Lucas Van Ness, too. So let's get that out of the way, since everybody in Green Bay likes to hate me anyways. But I think when I look at the defensive lines, the group in Detroit is the most intriguing for me, because if Aiden Hutchinson comes back even remotely close to Aiden Hutchinson, and we would think he would because he's still a young guy, and he got a chance to rehab this long and early. DJ Reader, also one of my favorite guys in the NFL. I think Detroit and Minnesota are clearly at the top here, and I think Chicago and Green Bay are not they're not too far in the distance in second. That's how I would look at the D lines in the North, T.
Well, and that goes back to me and when I said that the division is a lot closer than many people want to give it credit for, because you're right. Aiden Hutchinson, the dude had 7.5 sacks in 5 games. Imagine if he's able to stick that out for 17 games and give him a full season and the playoffs. That could have made the entire difference to that defense. That group is intriguing. I love it. I love what Minnesota did too with their pickups in the offseason. The Bears are good. That defense, the Bears defense is going to be huge this year, because back to my boy, if my boy is going to be effective, he can't play from behind, and they can't dig him a 30-point hole to dig out of. It's not going to be very effective for him. So that defense has to make stops this year, and they have to give the Bears a chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac.
Yeah, the Bears generated 34% pressures on pass plays last year. That was 6th in the NFL, which is pretty good. Again, we don't really expect much from the Bears, but their defense was actually pretty good. They added Grady Jarrett to that defensive line. I think that's going to help. For Green Bay, they've actually had a lot of first-round picks, but they've really just played below what we kind of expect from first round picks, and I think that's just been a little bit of a disappointment. So I think from a Green Bay standpoint, the talent's there. They just haven't progressed the way that they thought.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And in Green Bay, you got Jeff Hafley in there now for his second year, so again, guys will be a little more familiar with the terminology and the system there. But I do think they leave a little bit to be desired. The linebacking groups in this division, guys, I think are pretty interesting as well. When you look at Green Bay, again, leave a little bit to be desired. And this isn't a knock on any of these guys. It's just, Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, and Isaiah McDuffie, they're not terrible. They're not, guys that are going to wow you. And then you slide over to Chicago, I think it's a little bit of the same thing, with Edmonds and Edwards as their main two linebackers. I love Minnesota's linebackers, man. Greenard, Cashman, Pace, and Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel's a little dinged up, as some guys are. And then Detroit, same thing, Alex Anzalone. And Alex Anzalone being out for as long as he was, you know, and the injuries he's dealt with over the last couple of years has definitely affected them. The other key here, though, I think in this entire division, a guy who can really be a swing player in this entire division, again, back to the system, if you will, in Minnesota, and that's Dallas Turner, who adds some significant depth to the Vikings linebackers, Mac.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Dallas Turner definitely has his development needs to pick up just a little bit. Again, a system that linebacking crew is absolutely incredible. One of the guys that I liked, and I kind of highlighted him a little bit last year, is in Green Bay, is Edgerrin Cooper. I think he's ready to kind of get to that next level for Green Bay. So I keep an eye on him this year. But without a doubt, I like Detroit as far as the top linebacking core in this. The other three teams, again, kind of stacked really, really close with each other.
Yeah, Mac, I agree with you. I like Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota, and Green Bay. Few questions on among each one of those groups. But I would say that the linebacking cores in general are I'm not going to say that they're the best in the league, but they're pretty dang good.
Yeah. I would take any one of them. I mean, any one of these four teams, if you had to give me their linebacking core, I wouldn't say no. I mean, I think they're all pretty good. I mean, I think that's the best way probably to put it.
I mean, your team doesn't win 14 games and finish in second place because your defense is terrible.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true point. Let's look at the secondaries here. I'm going to let you guys kind of each have a turn here, but I will say this before we go into depth, and I'll clean up any scraps that are there. Joshua Metellus in Minnesota is one of the more, if not the most dynamic player in all of the NFL. And people close to where I am literally broadcasting from out here in Arizona will use Budda Baker as a comparison. I love Budda Baker. I really do. But Josh Metellus is the ultimate defensive Swiss Army knife. The dude can play on the line. He can line up at corner. He can play safety. You know, he can play linebacker. I mean, he can do everything. And I think Josh Metellus is the guy within Flores' system there in Minnesota that really makes that entire thing work, because he's a quarterback from the far back side of the defense. And I don't think he gets anywhere near the national attention that he deserves. But Joshua Metellus is one of my favorite players. He's kind of like a Bryce Harper, Bobby Witt in the NFL for me.
Yeah, 100%. Love what Metellus brings to that defense. This is going to be a huge year for him. Plus, they added the Okudah from Houston. That's going to be a good pickup. Green Bay added my main man Nate Hobbs. That should be interesting. The Lions secondary, I like the addition of Rock Ya-Sin. I hope he gets to play a little bit, because I liked him in Vegas. I thought he was a good player. I just think he was kind of buried for some reason. And then we got Chicago. A little concerned about some of the depth in the secondary here, but you know, they're guys. They're good guys.
Yeah, and all name team entry from the NFC North, by the way. Rock Ya-Sin, Mac.
Yeah, buddy.
Secondary is in the North.
I actually like the Bears. Jalen Johnson for me is one of the best. I like their mix is what I like. I think that the Bears have a mix of veterans, a good mix of young players in there. I think it's a perfect mix. So I actually really, really like the Bears secondary. If I had to give a grade, I'd probably grade Detroit maybe a tad bit better. Not much, but I would give Chicago second and then Green Bay third. And unfortunately, probably put Minnesota down at the fourth spot.
You know, coaching goes a long way, especially in the NFL, guys. And I think we've got some interesting mixes here within this division. And I think if you said you cannot name Ben Johnson as one of these guys, but you have to find two more guys that have the most scrutiny on them in this division this season, and that's Kelvin Shepard and John Morton in Detroit. Those guys are going to be expected to, quote, fill the shoes of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, which is probably not the right way to kind of set anybody up for that. They're going to have their own personality traits. They're going to obviously probably keep a lot of the terminology the same. But when I look at the coaching staffs as a whole, I would still give Green Bay. There you go, Green Bay fans. See, I don't totally hate you. And I would give Matt LaFleur probably a little bit of an edge here over Kevin O'Connell and Dan Campbell. And that's not saying that I think any of those guys are not good at what they do. I think they're all very, very good at what they do. I think the body of work for LaFleur and where he comes from and all that is probably why I'd give him a little bit of an edge, which is going to make some people raise an eyebrow, obviously, because Detroit's had more recent success. But I think the coaching groups, top to bottom, as you go through this entire division, guys, and I'll start with you, Mac, I think the coaching groups in this entire division are very dynamic, and it's part of the reason why I'm really excited. And this is not something that I normally would say going into the NFC North, but I think the coaching staffs as a whole in the North are part of what makes me really excited to watch the North this year.
I actually think Minnesota is probably one of the top ranked coaching staffs in the NFL. And here's the thing: everyone's on Detroit the last couple of years, but Minnesota's won almost as many games as Detroit. But everyone looks at Minnesota and says, well, they haven't done it in the playoffs. Well, guess what? Detroit hasn't done it in the playoffs yet either. I mean, they've won some games finally, but they still haven't played on that Sunday game, that big Super Bowl. So we've got that. So you can look at it that way. I think Detroit has to take a step down, and it has nothing to do. Well, it has everything to do, I should say, because of their two new coordinators. I mean, we just don't know what's going to happen and how that's all going to gel. So again, just like we do with quarterbacks, we look at the whole grouping. We have to look at the offensive coordinators, the defensive coordinators as well. So I think Minnesota's number one. I would actually put Green Bay second. I would put Detroit third, and I'd put Chicago fourth. But again, it's one of those things. It's no shade on Ben Johnson. It's just the fact we just don't know. How is he going to act as a head coach? I mean, I love, again, what we said, what he's done so far and the way he's approached this. It's been absolutely fantastic. But again, until the coin gets flipped and we kick it off, we don't know.
Yeah, and T, we've talked about this a bunch of times, and we talked about it in a little greater depth last Thursday here. And let me give credit where it's due here. Jacob Robinson from The Athletic here. And when he was doing the teams in the North, and his key question as far as the North goes, can Ben Johnson translate his offensive success to Chicago? And his exact line here is, Johnson's fiery demeanor was the number one takeaway from Chicago's offseason program, but it's one thing to run an offense while Dan Campbell leads the organization. It's harder to do both. Just ask Josh McDaniels and Cliff Kingsbury, two guys that we've talked about in length here recently. So how do you look at the coaches in the North?
I put a little lean to Detroit just because of their success. I've got Chicago with a little bit of a question mark because I'm not sure about the whole coordinator leading the franchising. But I will give Ben Johnson credit. He's assembled a heck of a coaching staff. Lots of experience there. Dennis Allen's going to be the defensive coordinator. They got Eric Bieniemy as the running backs coach. I think that's a
Speaking of guys, good coordinators, bad coaches.
Exactly.
You know that one better than anybody.
And I think that's going to be a very good move for Chicago. So he's assembling the staff, which is nice. But I do give a little lean to Detroit and Minnesota just because of the more recent success than Chicago.
Yeah, fair point. I think it's a very fair point. Let's look at strength of schedule, because that's the most overblown, ridiculous thing in the world. Let's look at pockets of the schedule that we can see a team, and this is where we're looking for a team that can really make some hay, or a spot where a team's going to have probably their season decided by how they go through here. And we try and go to about a 4-game stretch. Sometimes the situation warrants us going a little bit longer than that. So we'll go from the right to the left this time, and we'll start with TJ, and then Mac, and then myself. Go ahead, T.
Well, I kind of went with I thought it was kind of obvious here, but I'm not sure. if my boy's going to do well and Chicago's going to do well, they have to get off to a great start. And so I went the first 6 weeks for Chicago, Minnesota on Monday night, at Detroit on a short week, home for Dallas, at Las Vegas. Then they have a bye week, and then they go to Washington. So you've got 3 playoff teams from last year. You've got 2 teams that may have exceeded expectations in Detroit and Washington, both on the road. You've got a newly optimistic and fired up Vegas team, and then you got Dallas. I mean, you supposedly they're going to be good, but I don't know. Dak's coming back, so they need to get off to a great start. If they come out of this first 6 weeks and they're 2-3, that is not the great start we were looking for. And you may be packing it in for 26.
Yeah, and before you get rolling on yours here, did anybody else notice the blatantly obvious lack of the NFL's sense of humor when it comes to scheduling here? I get it, like you're putting Caleb Williams against J.J. McCarthy on Monday Night Football, but you don't think any of us would have found humor in Ben Johnson returning to Detroit in week 1 for Monday Night Football? I mean, am I the only one, Mac, that thought that would have been hilarious?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. There'll be a team that we talk about on Thursday that is, I've dubbed it the reunion tour. We'll get to that.
True.
Minnesota. This is an interesting schedule to me. I highlighted the weeks 2 through 5, but I'm going to extend it a little bit. 2 through 5 because they play home every single game. Against Atlanta, against Cincinnati, against Pittsburgh, against Cleveland. 4 straight home games, then a bye. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they play Philadelphia at home. So that's 5 home games in a row, which with a bye week, that's absolutely crazy. And here you have a young quarterback that, you want to kind of bring up to speed. First off, you're not playing the best teams, but second, you're getting to play 5 straight games at home. What better way to bring in your new quarterback with 5 straight home games? I mean, I think that's a gem of a schedule for them.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of that is when he goes down the stretch and he's at the Chargers, at the Lions, at the Packers, at the Seahawks, at the Cowboys, and at the Giants. But yeah, it is. The runway is there, and I think that Minnesota is the biggest wild card in this division. I think everybody's general expectation is Chicago is going to be better. Green Bay and Detroit are going to be in the mix for one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFC. I think Minnesota is the biggest wild card because none of us know what to expect out of J.J. McCarthy because none of us have seen him. So I think there's some interesting things there. The spot on the schedule that I felt was really interesting. And again, we'll go back to why people in Green Bay typically don't like me. And the first time I cared about that was the 21st of never. But Green Bay's got a stretch here I think is very interesting. And if Jordan Love is going to ascend to the throne that he's already been placed on with Justin Herbert, well, here you go. They play home versus the Bengals, who did all that drama and bullshit in the offseason to just sign Trey Hendrickson to a 1-year deal. We'll get more into that on Thursday when we talk about the AFC North. But they play Cincinnati at home. Then they come out here to the desert and play Arizona. Then they're at Pittsburgh. And then they play home again at Lambeau against Carolina. So you've got 2 home games there against Cincinnati and Carolina that you should be able to win. Again, on paper. Paper Tigers are always the Super Bowl champions. Then you come out to Arizona, which is a team I don't think anybody, even Arizona people, know what to make out of. And then the game at Pittsburgh, ironically, against Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, which, again, we'll get into reunion tours a little bit more on Thursday. But I think that's a pocket in Green Bay's schedule where if Jordan Love is going to be everything that everybody in Green Bay wants us to believe that Jordan Love is, there's 4 weeks. Go out and prove it to me. I think that's a stretch that if Green Bay really wants to take this division from Detroit or Minnesota, to give credit where it's due from last year, That's their stretch where they can really make hay, because they could come out of that 4-0. They could also come out of that 2-2 or worse, which would be very interesting in week 6 to 9, how it plays out over the course of the rest of the NFL season. So now, let's get to some liquid locks. And as we prepare you for that, again, as you've heard us allude to, Thursday will be our final divisional preview. That is the AFC North. The Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals. I'm sure Mac will have some interesting things to say about that one. This weekend, we will get you ready for the first weekend of kind of really good college football games. We will highlight some of the better ones as we take you through the Labor Day weekend. We will be taking a little bit of time to ourselves and our families this weekend. Hopefully, I can get the rest of the Arizona desert out of the bottom of my effing pool by then. And then next Wednesday, the night before we all kick it off at the Drunken Link for the Cowboys and the Eagles, will be our NFL season preview. We'll give you our division winners. We'll give you our award winners. We'll give you our Super Bowl matchups and our Super Bowl winners, and a bold prediction. And I can give you a teaser already. One of our guys' bold prediction comes out of this very division in the teams we were talking about tonight. So that is on Wednesday, September 3rd, a little bit later. We'll also tell you on Thursday how you're going to catch more of us live this upcoming season. Now, let's get into some liquid locks. They're not best bets for us. They're liquid locks because they're as solid as effing water on this show. Let's see. The magic hat tells me that I am going to start with myself. I'm going to start with myself because I know you guys have a couple. I only found 2 that I was sure of in this division. My first one is Detroit. And I'm going to take the Lions under 10.5 wins. And this is going to be a full season sweat here because they're either going to get to 10 or they're going to get to 11, and I'm going to sweat it out. I think the Lions still will be one of those teams up into the playoff mix in the NFC. I want to see the new offense and the new defense under these coordinators. I want to see the sustainability of this model now that we're in kind of year 3 of it. I love Dan Campbell. You're not going to hear outside of Detroit a bigger fan of Dan Campbell than mine. I love the way he does everything. But I think there is a little more pressure from the rest of the division within itself this year. And I think that's why we're going to be kind of flirting right on that. Do they win 11? Do they win 10? So I'm going to sweat this one. Under 10.5 for Detroit. On the flip side, I'm probably going to sweat this one too. Cart before horse, and that's my style of doing things. But I've got the Chicago Bears over their win total of 8.5 this year. Now that might be 9. That might be 10. That could be 11. TJ still hasn't brought. There it goes. I knew if I got to 11, TJ would crack a "what the hell is wrong with this guy" kind of face. But I'm going to take. I'm a believer in Ben Johnson and what he can do and that offensive line. I mean, tell me a team in the NFL that made a bigger commitment to, hey, we're going all in here. We're tired of this bullshit than what Chicago did on their offensive line. So Chicago over 8.5, Detroit under 10.5. The North is going to be intriguing to me because I'm going to sweat the hell out of both of those. Go ahead, TJ.
So I've got a 3-pack here. First off, I'm going to go with the obvious one for me, and that's Jared Goff. I think he's leading one of the most prolific offenses in the decade right now. I've got him at over 35 touchdowns this year. I got that at plus 275. I think he is going to throw touchdowns like it is a bodily function. And then this, I don't know if you knew what I was drinking here, but it's in this old Ducks cup, but it's disguised. This right here, this is the green.
Who's the quarterback on that cup? Oh no, other Ducks.
This is the Paul Correa is the quarterback.
Holy
this is
shit.
This
University
is
of Maine, baby.
You're gonna catch a disease from that cup.
This is Green Bay Packers Kool-Aid that I'm drinking right here. Green Bay Packers Kool-Aid. I've got them not 7, not 8, not 9, over 11.5 wins at plus 250. And I've got Jordan Love. He's going to throw at least 30 touchdowns this year. And hopefully 21 of them go to Romeo Doubs and 9 of them go to Jaden Reed. Plus 210 on that one.
You're giving the old man hot flashes in the middle there. Did you see that?
I did.
He's even got his lights off. He's going like full blown, like try and keep me cool here. What is it? All of like 79 outside where you're at, Mac?
64.
You son of a
67.
bitch. All right. Vegas Mac now has a microphone. I don't know if he's going to test it out yet or not, but you will be able to hear all of his best bets. Liquid locks. Damn it. There's $1 for the idiot. Go for it, Mac.
I do know that TJ for Christmas should get a Caleb Williams shirt without a doubt. That's got to be on the list. That's a liquid lock right there for you. I'm taking Green Bay and Minnesota. I'm taking Green Bay over. I'm not that much. I'm just over 9.5 wins for Green Bay, over 8.5 for Minnesota. That's my two teams. And then the choice that you alluded to, Jahmyr Gibbs, Offensive Player of the Year.
Max letting all of his award winners out here in the last 3 shows before we do the big show.
Well, you know what? I'm coming. I'm after my great college football national championship pick. I'm feeling hot right now.
You feeling hot?
Feeling hot.
There's no reason to feel hot there. Your national title pick, I can promise you, you have a better chance of TJ wearing a Caleb Williams jersey than your national title pick coming true.
You're just worried because you're worried that Tempe won't ever exist again. That's all.
Never mind. There was a couple of different ways I was going to answer that question, and neither one of them were going to be positive. So there you have it. Now, I think because it's been thrown on the table here, TJ, how do we get you on a show on this very channel in a Caleb Williams Bears jersey? Let's slap it down while we have an audience here. What is it going to take to get you to wear a Caleb Williams jersey this year?
3-0.
Realistic. And I know you, and I've known you long enough. Give me something that's realistic for you to go, I'll wear a Caleb Williams jersey if that happens.
Oh, good lordy. He has to take this team to the playoffs. He has to take him to the playoffs.
So if Caleb Williams takes the Bears to the playoffs, we will see you in a Caleb Williams jersey for that video.
Not Tyson Bagent, not Case Keenum, not any of those dorks. It's got to be Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams, there you go. Mark it.
Liquid lock.
Mark it down. It is August 26th. The time on the West Coast is 6:35 p.m. If Caleb Williams leads the Bears to the postseason, our very own Tony James will be wearing a Caleb Williams jersey.
And I will smile while I'm doing it.
I got a feeling the Bears are going to come back up in our bold predictions segment when we get to our season preview show, which is a week from tomorrow, September 3rd, the night before we kick off the NFL season. Thursday night in these same spaces, we will take down our last division, and a division that also has a hell of a lot of intrigue, and that's the AFC North. The Browns, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bengals who found 9 different ways backwards to get to the same spot with Trey Hendrickson that they were in when we ended last season. A lot of stuff to talk about there. Any parting shots from you on the right side there, Tony James?
You know what? I'm pulling for Caleb. I really am. I would like to see this happen. I would like him to lead Chicago to the playoffs, but I have a feeling that it's only going to be driving a bus to Green Bay to watch the division champs play a playoff game.
Did you just make a bus crashing sound when you said that? So we knew exactly.
I think I did that. Oh, man.
We're going to play a constant game of whose studio was that made the loud crashing sound on the show. Vegas Mac, any final parting shots here tonight?
This is going to be a fun division. I don't want to say any more than that, but I think it's going to be a fun division. I'll save it for next Wednesday. We'll have quite a discussion. Some of it may deal with wardrobes.
Oh, Jesus. There you've
I
been
hope
warned.
I hope you mean wardrobes like you have to wear clothes.
Your wardrobe.
Oh, Jesus.
Says the guy who's got 7,000 jerseys and shirts behind him. For everybody behind the scenes, for TJ, for Vegas Mac, Thursday night, same bat time, same bat channel, the AFC North. We'll talk to you then. Right now, we're out.